let's move on. We've got a lot. One of the issues with Palworld's success is that there's a lot of seeing a lot of snobby people come out talking about video games, video game content creators and journalists, that kind of stuff. They're talking about Palworld. Well, Eurogamer here with a ridiculous article. Is Palworld actually any good? Of course not. Elect a buzzkill. Oof. This is by Chris Tapso, a deputy editor here at Eurogamer. You might have heard about it. Palworld is an utter gigantic first big mega hit of 2024 and potentially the biggest game we'll get all year, at least in terms of sheer popularity of players. And in terms of controversy and conversation around it at launch, yet if you're yet to hop on board and wondering what you're missing, you can relax. Palworld is big and controversial. It's also absolute rubbish. Primitive and derivative in the game that appears at first glance almost to be completely fake. The type of quickly mocked up for a 3-second appearance on a teen's PC monitor on a mid-budget TV drama. A game to be played one-handed with an S by Tony. Wow, this guy is really using a lot of funny metaphors. You can tell he's smart. You can really tell he's a smart guy by all these cool writing metaphors. He's a good writer, I can tell. It's difficult to know where to begin with games like this. How do you break it down into concept problems where it's clips? It's very cynical, precise reverse engineering machine designed to bottle your attention or refine it into concentrated cash. Ah, yes, that's just a cash grab. And is it cynical? Here's a developer talking to Wired Japan and responding to some admirable candor to a question about Nintendo and the culture, praising creating original high-quality works, and why he didn't get on with that, as translated by Eurogamer. I have a deep-rooted desire to be... This has gone around, by the way, and I think it's actually kind of cool. I have a deeper desire for my work to be enjoyed by as many people as possible, and then if there are good ideas in the world, I pick them up, and I don't think they need to be particular about originality. I want to make it less serious or rather more easygoing. I think it's good to create something in that way, like jumping on what's trendy, LOL. So people have gotten their feathers ruffled. Oh, he's not original. He doesn't want to be original. What's this? Hey, you make good stuff still. It's good. And I want to break this up. Let's see, Nintendo first party releases. Let's go to Reddit here. Thank you, Reddit. Let's see. Look at this. Here we go. It's been a great year. Let's see. Fire Emblem, a sequel to a series. Dreamland Deluxe. I think this is a remake. Kind of. Oh, Metroid Prime 2 Remastered. We've released Pikmin 1 and 2 again. Oh, a sequel. I like Pikmin 4, but again, another sequel. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it looked pretty good. Remastered of a game. Oh, another remastered and a shitty one. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp looked like dog shit besides really the OTS, but I didn't buy it, and all the reviews I've seen it looks like trash. WayForward did a terrible job. WayForward should, Minecraft themselves. But yeah, originality. Total originality. Nintendo's all about originality. Look at how original all of these things are. But moving on. Since we're talking about originality, I might as well bring up how original everyone in video games are. Fair enough. Let's move on. Fair enough. My bet to attempt that, I would go reverse engineering the problem with Palworld myself. Around Palworld, it's so far, and admittedly, not activity of mine comes from its success. So he's just fairly enough admitted that he's bitter that it's doing so well. If all it feels a bit brutal of a discussion of an indie game that came out of nowhere, it's worth bearing. That's Palworld is wildly popular. But more than that, more importantly, feeling Palworld play is sour. Start up the game, you're given an option to play solo or multiplayer server, typical creator. Beneath Prithwell, water-colored mournfulness is already diluted to a blandly vivid green hills with Getrim impact. Here's watered down once again, filtered through mobile shovelware, entirely vapid non-place of the Galapagos Islands. Yeah, the environment is very generic. That is definitely true. From there, every direction there's something you've seen before. Moon and place here without context. Yes, there's a Pokemon element roaming creatures with undeniably and maybe copyright infringing closest to the official ones. There are Palspheres at them. Goes far beyond Pokemon effect, Pokemon guns. As well as wearing thin, it's also a bit of a misnomer. You pick up rocks and twigs. Yes, it's not Pokemon with guns. Takes you forever to get guns. Back to the sensation. I'm going to just screw this crap. Back to the sensation of actually playing it. Palworld doesn't feel particularly great in literal sense, whacking trees with axes. So this person clearly doesn't like survival games. Same goes for the humor, which is less edgy than it's made out to be and more of a louse, so random internet humor kind. This guy knows what humor is, too. Let me tell you what. Pals break loose from no spirit. Cheeky bastard. Yeah. I thought that was kind of weird. I love the ragdolling. Potentially obvious attempt to apply cruelty in monster collecting games. It's something overt. I think the ragdolling is hilarious. The problem, I'd say, as well as a joke, it's just plain, oh, it's old, okay. He's better than this. Instead, the thrill of power, and admittedly, I'm yet to get it so far, or set anything elaborate, seems to become from the bottomless font of engagement that is false progression mash in some not Pokemon faces hit rocks. Got to club or do anything as some XP pop out. Level with characters, your pal improving your stats, progressing through the most nonsensical skill tree. The reason for power 6 is pretty clear. Among other things, it's a compulsion loop. Oh my god. Plenty of games, of course. Just look at the biggest success of the past decade or so. Come across any section of industry you fancy. It's just Palworld doesn't bother to hide it. It's also assembled in an admirably intuitive package. If you've a biggest awareness of video game logic from the 5 biggest games of the past 20 years, Pokemon, Minecraft, Fortnite, anything survival online, or anything it's derived from, you'll get it. I'm still trying to reverse engineer this one, so let's pull back a tiny bit. The real problem with Palworld is the less derivative approach itself, that it's totally shamelessness. It might be oddly refreshing to be open about your cynicism, but it also has an impact on the player. Play Palworld and you won't feel like you're playing something made with thought or craft or earnest team's best ascension. You won't feel admiration or wonder. You won't feel any real sense of achievement. You won't feel like an artist has been involved or anything meaningful might come to mind. Instead, you'll feel like you're playing a product designed to be sold rather than be played. You'll feel like a mark and you'll be right. Wow. So, man, this guy says you'll be a mark and you'll be right. So, see, and this is the snobbishness like I said, I've seen from people talking about this. I've seen, like Donkey, video game Donkey, you used to make, funny videos, implying that it's, a basic game. And like, look, they're not wrong. There's something basic about it. It's a very basic game and has a lot of jank. The Pokemon are ripoff. The pals are ripoffs. But when you put it together, it's fun. And this is what I don't get. I don't get how they see this as like sinister. When I'd see it as like guys like, hey, here's a bunch of like cool shit. We'll put it together and try and make something cool out of it. And that's, you look at Palworld stuff, you look at their design philosophy, the way like he talked about how like, hey, I'm not trying to make something original. I just want to be fun. Like, hey, you got some cool idea. Here's a bunch of cool ideas. We'll put it together and we'll make something cool. To me, this seems a lot like the sort of early 90s game development, like, hey, let's just make something rad. Let's not worry about, be the most creative, the most original thing in the world. Let's just make something cool. And early games like Blizzard did that too. Early Blizzard said, hey, let's take like a genre like MMOs. We'll make it really accessible and easy with the cool stuff in it, and it'll be a success. And that's what they did with stuff like WoW. I'm not comparing that to Blizzard. Obviously, Blizzard, this is nowhere near the quality that they were able to do. But hey, it's kind of cool. Like when you see like, let me see if I can bring it up. Palworld struggled to find a dev with shooter experience in Japan before stumbling on a self-taught hobbyist who worked at a convenience store. I wanted someone working at Palworld to be obsessed with guns, so I'm glad I met him. And this is Grums, who used to work for Blizzard, was the former team lead for World of Warcraft. OG Blizzard was like this. Samwise was a movie usher. Mentes was a watch repair guy. Pardo was QA. You don't need a degree. You need drive, a passion to create. So this is the sort of annoying part that a lot of these like snobby people don't seem to get, is that it's just guys trying to make something cool. This idea that, you know, it's just this. I mean, this says a budget of like $7 million. Like, do you really think it's some like devious, you know, market created creation? Do you think that they're doing a lot of like market testing and like QA and like, oh, how can I make the most devious loop out there to make people addicted to the game? Do you think they have those analysts in this? No, they're picking up guys from convenience stores. So I just don't get this look on it. I mean, I know, you know, if like you're really snobby about your video games, or I mean, and even that, like, I don't blame anyone for like look at Palworld saying like, hey, it's cheap, it's janky, it's derivative, and not liking it. I mean, I think those are perfectly valid opinions of Palworld, but I don't get the sort of like the way to imply that it's like plagiarizing or ripping off, or, you know, that's some devious attempt to like rip people off, or, you know, like, oh, we're just gonna make this perfect what's the word I'm looking for, like this perfect, you know, market focused, you know, like a team of marketers just made this game, you know, specifically designed to entrap people. It's clearly not. Like, if you look at the developer and you look at the words that they're saying and what they've done, and then even their budget, this was clearly just a bunch of guys trying to make a cool game on a shoestring budget and having massive success. And instead of kind of being happy for them, people like this, you know, these snobby game experts, video game experts, need, like Chris Tapesel, need to take a crap on them for it instead. So let's move on. Let's see. There's a few. I'm going to skip over these. There's a few like other crappier, like from like PC and Kotaku that kind of go over it. But man, I don't have the energy and time. There was one, IGN. I'll give credit to IGN and Travis North up here. I think they actually made a good review of it. Steam version talking about Palworld. Nothing about Palworld does seem. Nothing about what Palworld does seems like it should work in the slightest. A thinly veiled Pokemon clone where you and your collector's monsters shoot people in the face with literal guns. A base building survival game where you use your kidnapped creatures as laborers. Then resort to cooking and eating those unplated employees when times get tough. An open world co-op adventure where you and your friends thwack helpless sheep over the head with baseball bats to harvest wool. Defying the odds, the wholly irreverent gun-toting take on creature collecting genre has become unrelenting fun across the 100+ hours I spent shooting cartoon kittens in the face. As early as this game has got plenty of bugs and performance issues to go around, and sure, it shamelessly cribs the designs of many of its collectible creatures, but its survival mechanics are intuitive and deep. Its action by combat is silly and satisfying, and exploring its world in search of new pals to kick the snot out of hasn't come close to getting old. I'm baffled to report to your reader that Palworld is very good. I mean, this is like exactly. I mean, he says it in kind of like a fancier way, but totally agree with what he's saying. It's definitely a bit weird to hack a penguin unconscious with an axe. Goes on to talk about teaching about the open world is a ton of fun. It's definitely a bit weird. It's hard to let's look into this further. It's hard to overstate just how effortlessly funny Palworld is, often feeling like satire of the creature collecting genre rather than another straight-faced iteration of it. For example, later in my playthrough, I accidentally discovered you can capture humans in your Palsphere. by binding them to your will and allowing you to put them to work in your camp or take them to your adventures like regular pals. An insane inclusion that's never advertised to the player and has no purpose aside from being ridiculous. Or how you can give a rocket launcher to your panda pal to sit back and watch them blow up some poor woodland creatures into oblivion. Palworld is steeped in utter irreverence every step of the way, and that works to its benefit since creature collecting is already silly as heck to begin with. Let's see, and he goes on to say pals themselves, on the other hand, are quite as original as the process of catching them, and I describe the majority of them as almost copyright infringement. Seriously, there's a lightning mouse-like pal, sassy two-legged cat pal, a dinosaur with a flower on its head, and more remind me of an awful lot of some collectible monsters in the days of my youth. That said, uninspired and derivative as they are, the designs are still mostly pretty neat and have a lot of personality. What makes each one of them a ton of fun to hunt and battle against. I'm especially fond of the ditzy, nigh helpless Dolmud, a complete blob of creature who thrives up bouncing around the desert in the lifeless defiance of Darwinism. So, I mean, like, this is kind of, like I said, the good take on these things. Like, yeah, clearly you can, like, look at, like, a pal, like, you know, like the dinosaur over here on the right, and see, like, oh, yeah, I can, you know, piece together different, you know, Pokemon and make that something that looks almost exactly like it. But, you know, hey, it's still fun. You know, I don't think it can quite prove that it's plagiarism. I don't think it is quite plagiarism, but it's definitely a derivative. But who cares? It's fun. You know, do Pokemon don't own every single, like, cartoonish looking creature catcher. If you look, I think even if you take a look at other creature catching games that are similar, more closer to Pokemon, you're going to find, you know, some similarities. You know, they don't know they're writing on, you know, dinosaurs with leaves. Let's just go down to the ending part. Verdict. Even in its early access, Palworld is amusing and irreverent, has a surprising amount of content and deep survival mechanics. Absurdly difficult to put down. It's impossible to overlook just how shameless it takes the ideas and designs of Pokemon. It's got some unsurprising bugs and performance issues, and the work of keeping your base supplied and topped off needs a little retuning, which I definitely agree. It definitely could use, though I don't know if, like, this is intentional design or just pals really suck. The AI really sucks right now. Because, like, if my stuff would decide to farm ore, instead of, like, eating every half a second or getting stuck every half a second, it might be a little easier, but anyway. But when you're riding on the back of a flying dragon while shooting a blue duck with an assault rifle, those blemishes wash away entirely. This is already one of my favorite survival games. I'm pretty excited to see how it evolves. So, bam, exactly. It's got its bugs, it's got its issues, but it's fun. It's fun. And that's what those dorks that think, you know, they're too good for Palworld don't get.